Hello again. Ecosystem and function is a very big topic, very complex topic. So we are here again to talk about ecosystem and function. In this part, we will talk about matter flow in environment. In this video, we will talk about nutrients for plants and consumers. We will talk about limiting factors for growth for plants. We will explain terms that we use in biogeochemical cycles, and we will talk about four main cycles of matter, and we talk about human impacts on these biogeochemical cycles. So our topic is matter flow in environment. Let's first define matter. Matter is anything that has a mass and takes up space. And in environmental science, we divide it as an organic matter and inorganic matter. If you take chemistry, you know that if the matter contains carbon element in the structure, then we call it organic substance, organic matter. Like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, they are all organic matter. Inorganic matter are, for the nutrients part, for the biological part, are calcium, sodium, magnesium, sulfur, that doesn't contain any carbon in it. And nutrients, they are matter required by living organism to grow and function. So we have two types of living organisms. We have autotrophs and heterotrophs that we discuss. We are not discussing decomposers here because we will discuss them in the matter cycle. So nutrients captured by autotrophs, if we discuss this. So plants get their nutrients from the environment in an inorganic form. For example, most plants use nitrogen in the form of nitrate and phosphorus in the form of phosphate. And they get the water from their roots. While taking the water from their roots, this process is called transpiration. It is the process of water movement through the plant roots and it evaporates from the leaves. Water is necessary for plants, but it only uses like a very small part, and it says up to 99.5% of water is lost by transpiration, and they collect this water as a survival technique. You may see it collecting the water from the leaves as a survival technique. Here they show few leaves. Maybe you need to cover more leaves to get lots of water. Plants require many different nutrients and they use them in specific combinations. For example, algae, green algae, they have nitrogen to phosphor ratio as a phosphorus ratio as a 16 unit of nitrogen to 1 unit of phosphorus. Of course, this ratio is called Redfield ratio. It is the scientists who discovered this. It is not constant, of course, for many different plants, and it varies from one part of the plant to the another. So if you are interested in gardening, you may use fertilizer for your plants. And when you buy a fertilizer, you see these numbers here. In this label it says 4, 10, 10, and when you look at the percentage of nitrogen, phosphor and potassium, you can say 4%, 10%, 10%. So these are nutrients for plant growth. In the textbook, it says some nutrients are available through the soil, like nitrate and phosphate, but if the soil is lack of this nutrients, you need to use fertilizer. And some of them are not available, like nitrogen. And to get this nitrogen, you need to go nitrogen cycle, which depends on the decomposers, bacteria. So it is a huge, interesting cycle that we will discuss later. You can think of the proportion of nutrients as a recipe for making a living tissue, and their availability will affect the plant growth significantly. And Liebig's law is known about this. Liebig's law of the minimum. It says if one growth factor nutrient is deficient, plant growth is limited. And they show all the possible nutrients here: zinc, carbon dioxide, boron, soil condition, water, calcium, all sort of nutrients that a plant may need. And if one of them is less, then the plant will stop growing. So in order to improve it, that is why we are using all these fertilizers for plant growth. I want to explain this with an example here. Suppose a plant needs like 100 units of carbon, 16 units of nitrogen, and 1 unit of phosphorus. And suppose that you are giving 300 units of carbon supply, 32 units of nitrogen supply, and 5 units of phosphorus supply. So how many units of biomass can the plant build based on these nutrients? Based on carbon, it is 3 times it needs, right? The nitrogen is 2 times it needs, and phosphor is 5 times it needs. But here the limiting factor is the smallest one. So it has available phosphorus to make 5 times of what it needs, but since nitrogen is 2, nitrogen is the smallest one, it limits our plant growth. And that is called Liebig law of minimum. These calculations are important, like farmers use this Liebig's law to increase the amount of food growth per hectare, and farmers test their soil for the abundance of nutrients and compare its nutrients to the required crops. So these numbers are very important in environmental science, and you may see a question in one of your quiz. So if we talk about nutrients captured by heterotrophs, that's easy, because when animals eat plants or other animals, they obtain nutrients as well as energy. And because they come from living organisms, these nutrients are organic form. For example, most animals get their nitrogen from the proteins they eat. So all this matter is cycling from one way to another. Unlike energy, matter is used over and over again. Like that, you may heard this. You may inhale the same carbon dioxide molecule that Abraham Lincoln exhaled many years ago, because this carbon is cycled from one storage to another. So biochemical cycle is a natural pathway by which essential elements of living matter are circulated. The biogeochemical cycle has the names in its name. It has biological cycle, geological cycle, and chemical cycle. So it has all 3 aspects in this biogeochemical cycle. Before studying the cycles, I would like to focus on some vocabulary. We call storages if it is the location in biogeochemical cycle. Locations are called storages. Storages are where matter stops its journey. There are 5 storages in the environment: air or atmosphere, water or oceans, lakes, soil, earth crust, and biota, which is living organisms. And residence time is the time that atoms spend in one storage before moving to another. Like carbon dioxide stays in air for 5 years before absorbed by plants. Or if this carbon dioxide is in ocean, it's gonna stay longer than 5 years, maybe thousands of years to be absorbed by plants. So here in this image, you can see the storages. We have air, water, earth crust, soil, and living organism, which are called biota. We also say flow. Flow is the movement from one storage to another. Like this carbon dioxide is absorbed by air first, or it absorbed by biota, right? So this is called flow. Flow can be spontaneous or non-spontaneous. Spontaneous flow is from high concentration to low concentration. Here we have high concentration of carbon dioxide gas emission, and it is going naturally, spontaneously from this unit, from this storage to the air. That is a spontaneous flow. We also have non-spontaneous flow, which is matter goes from low concentration to high concentration. For example, absorption of carbon dioxide by trees. Trees has lots of carbon in it, right? But they want to absorb more carbon dioxide from the air. So that goes from low concentration to high concentration. We have 4 main cycles: carbon cycle, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. I want to explain this in a different video. As I said before, like all of them will, like ecosystem and function is a very big topic. So carbon cycle is the master cycle. Nitrogen cycle, when you see a lightning, please remember nitrogen cycle, because without lightning we cannot have nitrogen cycle. There will not be a life on the earth without nitrogen. Phosphorus cycle, you may remember the Sahara desert. It carries the phosphorus to ocean. And sulfur cycle, it depends on human activities and also natural activities. So we will discuss all this in a different video. In the last part, I want to talk about disturbing geochemical cycles. What disturbs them? Natural events like changing the storage size, like deforestation or wetland usage. Using fossil fuel, like increasing the amount of activities, using fertilizers, or natural event like volcanic activity will produce lots of sulfur. And also accumulation of pollutants in storage can injure or kill the species, so that species will stop providing this environment, right? So these are some points that I wanted to discuss with you, and for the cycles we will watch different videos. Thank you everyone. Bye.